Hey team, Joshua again from RICS. So the question is, did you do it? Did you? Well, did you connect with your counselor? Do you also know the next submission dates? Have you started mapping it out? Have you read the candidate guide? And have you completed videos 1, 2, 3, and 4? If you haven't, please go back and do it. So in this video and action items, we're building upon our mapping and we'll get started to writing our first draft. We've all heard this saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Now, this is just a saying and doesn't interpret as if you add a picture, it's actually worth 1,000 words, but using pictures, tables, graphs, and data in your case study appendice is going to help support your submission and enhance the information that you're presenting, as you only have 1,500 words, which actually isn't a lot. So, as a side note, please keep a record of all these pictures, these graphs, and these tables that you may wish to use to explain in your case studies. So, as you would have seen, I did also post that senior professional submission, that QS example. The purpose of this example is not to show you what competencies you should include and you should write something similar, but rather to notice the use of specific words, the structure of the experience, and the layout towards the competencies, and where you could actually put your own wording. As a recommendation, the 200 to 300 words or sections I've mentioned several times is a basis guideline. So you are not writing over and you can obviously complete within the actual limits. I'm just trying to not complicate the process. And while I have suggested that you can complete the mapping out of the projects, I do suggest from further on that you focus on writing one case study at a time. I'm not expecting you to complete absolutely everything with this because ideally, if you are trying to complete 3 case studies at the same time, this is only going to lead to confusion when drafting and compiling the information. There may be also a few things that you could also consider in the case study. This is going to be your own personal preference, but these are recommendations from the guidance, and it goes as follows. You'll provide a brief overview of the key issues and an account of your role and personal involvement. I want you to think of this heading as the introduction broken down into 2 sections. An outline of the problems faced and the experience you have to resolving these problems. Please consider this as the case study approach, the what you did, how you did it, and the advice towards the competencies, and this might be 5 to 7 sections. A note of the outcome and successful delivery with emphasis on the role you played. Think of this for a case study as your achievements and conclusion broken into 1 or 2 sections, as this format will help you define the sections and help the counselor and the assessor know where to review and find the relevant information that helps to show what has been included. And as a FYI, for your information, you may have noticed that the note of outcome and delivery was shown in the competencies of the submission example, but as a professional, you judge best where to write this within your own statements. But let's get drafting! When compiling your submission, there are a few sections that don't form part of the final word count. Appendices, references to law, legislation, and acts, but as well including the title, the project date, and the competencies listed. When we start with the brief overview of the key issues, you will describe the project and its objectives. I've seen statements ranging from about 70 to 200 words, which is absolutely fine, as this is your submission, your experience, and writing of the project that you will dictate in length. While this is only a recommendation, focusing and providing enough detail in probably about 2 to 3 paragraphs would be best, as you don't need to go too in depth as you will later on in your submission, and you'll provide more context and more project specifics to those issues and processes. Keeping the opening, it needs to be very high level, where you may wish to include, what you discovered, you're appointed to, what you were looking to resolve, and why was it issue for your business, your team, your client, those really big issues. The following headings I'm going to be mentioning is to help you really visualize, to ensure that the opening statement does give context to the rest of the case study and shows the readers, the counselors and the assessors, what they can expect to find. The following headers, which I will recommend you delete and don't include in your final, should be how you got this project, describing the project, key issues, the objectives of the project, where you may include, depending on the project, something along the lines of, I was seconded, following the termination of, were contracted, I was mandated to, we discovered, we're providing services to. Then for describe the project, it was a 15-story high-rise, we're representing a client, a project consisted of X, Y, and Z, the strategy, then the key issues, procurement, post-COVID, maybe it's a distressed building, and the objectives, construction management consulting, to construct something, to build something. Then once you have all these key statements, you will then want to rewrite it like the following. I was seconded to the rail development for the cost management following the termination of the previous main contractor, full commercial delivery to Qatar Rail, termination of the previous contractor, challenging project turnaround, implement and revise a procurement strategy, supply a caliber of staff that could provide real value and skill. Now, within your professional skills and experience, you could write it like the following. And I'll let you read that in your own time. But hopefully that all makes sense. And hopefully you can see the connections there and how it's been rewritten to make a professional statement. Now you can obviously review the other examples as well. Now the next section, an account of your role or personal involvement. Here you want to explain what you were responsible for and how you performed those abilities. You should also consider by saying, my role entailed, I was assigned with the task, I was delegated the responsibility, I was given the position, I was selected for the job, I was made accountable for, and there's so many different ways you can write this. Now, what your role was and the high level, and it would be great to list some competencies as well, as the second sentence could give what you needed to actually do. Now, you need to make sure that you're not repeating yourself, and this is where those keywords about how you describe the project could also be implemented. Then expand on the services. Well, the competencies and the skills that you needed to provide with hints towards your senior responsibilities, such as maybe reporting to the manager or managing a team or, following up with severe advice. The following examples on the screen can show you exactly what I actually mean. Have a read in your own time, but hopefully you can see what I'm trying to get at. I want you to write this yourself in your own words. Please do not copy any of this. Now you will notice there's probably around 35 to 50 words of length in this example, but as well, I've seen some of these examples go from like 35 words all the way to 200. Remember, this is an introduction, a pitch about the key issues at hand, describing the project and the objectives. So this is your action item for this video. Complete this for the case study. And remember, it doesn't need to be perfect now, as we'll finesse it and perfect it later on in the final draft. Now, in the next video, I'm going to be talking about level 2 and level 3 competency writing, and how you can obviously implement that for your projects, and also the final 2 headings for the case study. See you soon, but technically you'll be seeing me soon. But bye for now.